Glenn S. here, and I'm going to be talking about the SpaceX Way, explaining, in my interpretation, how a vision and a mission enable great achievements. I want to give special thanks to Wait But Why for inspiring this video. So, since the start of this century, Elon Musk has made it very clear what he wants to see happen in his lifetime. He wants us to put humans on Mars. But there's some problems with this. It's very far. It's actually the farthest in 45 years that we've ever gone, because we're only able to get right now to the International Space Station. The moon is about 1,000 times farther than that, and Mars is 1,000 times farther than it takes us to get to the moon, which makes it 1,000,000 times farther than getting to the ISS. It's costly. We currently spend over $100 million to get one person into Earth orbit. The reason behind this is mainly because every rocket that we use to send that person into orbit crashes into the ocean after use, and we don't reuse it. It's also seen by some as not being urgent, because we went to the moon already, and that was fueled by the Cold War. We won the Cold War in the West, and so for many, that's the end of that. Elon Musk decides to counter these arguments by putting a little more urgency around the issue by saying that we could face an extinction event. He thinks, wouldn't it be better if we hedged our bets by being a multiplanetary species? And so making humans a multiplanetary species by putting some of them on Mars is now the vision. And it's the vision for SpaceX. That's the organization tasked with achieving this. But by itself, the vision doesn't explain how SpaceX is going to get mankind to Mars. The company needs to complete several things that will help it tackle the problems with getting there, namely the issues with Mars being too costly and too far using today's technology. So they start with an initial mission. This is taking us back shortly after the company was founded in 2002, and that was to build a rocket, which they called Falcon 1. And it ran from 2006 until 2009. It was about 70 feet tall. Here's a picture of it on its launch pad, and its goal was to reach low Earth orbit. It tried to make several flights to do this. The first 3 of them failed. The 4th flight, however, did make it to Earth orbit, and they were able to eventually have a 5th flight, which put a 100-pound satellite into orbit. Not exactly the size of a person, but it's still something. And that, if we look at how the mission went, was exactly what they needed to achieve as their first mission. They wanted to just figure out how to get something into space, to get it up to the level of low Earth orbit. And they did that with objects like a satellite, and in a subsequent mission, they even sent something like a wheel of cheese, just to prove that they could. That brings us to the next stage of what they have to achieve. Mission number 2. Mission number 2 started in 2011 after they wound down the Falcon 1 flights. And the vehicle that they used for it had a few incarnations, but some of them were very, very small, and they were all called Grasshopper. They no longer built Falcon 1s. What they decided to do with these smaller objects was simply figure out how to get them off the ground and then come back down on the ground. The first flight of Grasshopper only made it 6 feet off the ground, but it came back down, and in the subsequent 7 flights, they were able to get these objects, which were really only about 1/4 the size of what they'd already sent into space, well off the ground. So what exactly were they trying to do what is Mission 2's purpose? The answer is they're actually getting a reusable rocket going. And the logic is that since Grasshopper nailed its landings, then a rocket could nail the landing. And you don't have to ditch a rocket into the ocean every time. A rocket could take off and come back down to Earth. And if it did that, then you could definitely reuse them. And if you reuse them, you can definitely lower the cost of getting to orbit. So Mission 2, the main vehicle that's going to be used for this is Falcon 9. You can say that this is kind of an extension on Mission 2. Now the Grasshopper's retired as well as the Falcon 1. And Falcon 9, which is 4 times the size of Falcon 1, is flying. Its first flight was in 2010, and its aim is to fly again and again and again. And the most important flight that happened to date for the Falcon 9 was on December 21st of 2015, when it landed back on the Earth. And since then, SpaceX has gone beyond that mission, which was number 20, and it's actually, as of this recording, at mission number 38. But since then, they've been taking several of the rockets that they already landed on Earth and reusing them for flight. Now, in the subsequent missions, what they hope to do is, instead of simply taking payloads like satellites up and supplies, they want to use the Dragon capsule that they've made. It has a capacity for 6 people because, of course, their long-term plan is to take people on these rockets. So if we recap mission number 2, they have Falcon 9. It's helping already by reuse to bring down the cost of getting to orbit. Right now, in their numbers, it's about $65 million, but they want to keep peeling that cost down. And in December of 2017, they're planning on launching Falcon Heavy. And the Falcon Heavy is aiming to bring down the cost even more. So what will this have the effect of doing? Well, they think that they can get the cost for reaching orbit low enough that somebody from a middle-class background who's dedicated to going could make it. Now, they're thinking about $500,000. That's hardly affordable, but that amount is roughly about the net worth of the kind of person that they're looking for. You factor in the savings or the value of a house or assets that they can secure through a mortgage. It's an achievable amount. And SpaceX figures that if someone like this wanted to move to Mars and sell all their assets on Earth, that they would look at the chance of colonizing a new planet as worth enough that they would be willing to do that. With 7 billion people on the Earth, SpaceX only needs a tiny percentage of the population to cough up the $500,000 ticket price in order for them to cover their costs. And Elon Musk has even forecasted the ticket price will eventually drop to $250,000 or maybe even lower. So if they have that in place, what then could Mission 3's objective be? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. It's Mars. And they've tackled the things that need to bring the cost down and to make it more achievable for people. And now that they have a scaled up version of what they could send people on, they're ready to go. And what they need for that is a new vehicle. It's the big Falcon rocket. And it's 50% larger than the Falcon 9 at 106 meters. And the important thing for SpaceX here is that they will sunset their existing products. So the ones that they're just starting to use now, in the case of the Falcon Heavy, that they haven't even flown yet. But they plan over the next several years to take those machines, and once they've built a large enough fleet of them that's in use, other people can use those rockets to get into Earth orbit, and SpaceX's singular focus will be making this rocket designed to take 100 people on a 6-month journey. And it's a lot farther than a manned rocket has ever gone. but that is the order of magnitude that they need to cover for reaching Mars. And that's the hurdle that mission 3 must overcome. So to recap mission 3, they're aiming by the 2020s, if all goes well, to take several BFRs and carry people to Mars on them. And that would be enough to have a permanent colony. And that milestone would complete the 3rd mission and their vision. My takeaway from this is that it can take several missions to achieve your vision, and that although they seem like detours, once you ruthlessly put things in the right order, the first one should feed into the second one should feed into the third one, and you can eventually achieve them all and reach your vision. So finally, I'd like to make special thanks to Wait But Why for this graph, which helped to inspire the explanation that I've given in this video, and I hope you find it helpful.